Hola, bom dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, YouTube channel and podcast. And yes, we're getting to that Bon Fin de Semana time of the week, aren't we? And of course, on a Friday, it is Fungi Friday with our friends at Shimejito over there in Fundão. And I've got such a lovely guest for you today. Njiza Costa is here to talk about what mushrooms and more generally what nature can teach us. Us human beings, and goodness knows we need inspiration and help at the moment, I think, to tackle and approach this current situation for humanity that we find ourselves in. But before we go and speak to Njiza, who's just taking it easy in the green room at the moment, the virtual green room, let's do the news and the weather. And yeah, I want to let you know as well that I'm going to change slightly the format of the live stream and what we do here every weekday morning from about 9 o'clock. And I'll just share my screen whilst I'm telling you about this. Yeah, we're going to go to Jorge Branco's coverage here. And I think probably for the last time today. So the new format is going to be news and weather for sure, but more general news now. I'm actually a bit... I think I'm done with reporting on the daily death toll and the numbers, and you can find that anywhere. Like here, you can find it with Jorge Branco. You can find it with Safe Communities Portugal. I'm just going to focus on that flower for a moment as your screenshot. Yeah, you can go to Jorge Branco. You can go to Craig Morfitt. You can go to Safe Communities Portugal. I mean, you know, we're all over it in terms of information, aren't we? In as far as the numbers go, the cases, the fatalities, and so on to do with coronavirus. So I don't see any need for me to keep telling you that every morning. If it affects us in any profound way, and the implications, and also some of the craziness, I have to say as well, of what's going on and how we're meant to be behaving from an official point of view. I will go into that. So there will be news for sure, but it's news to do with us living what the Good Morning Portugal live stream and project is all about is living going back to nature rather than going back to normal. This is my best way of putting it so far. And I think it is, you know, the happy homesteaders, the diggers and the dreamers. That's the audience, that's the community here. And I want to do news and weather to serve that. Anything that affects you in that way, in terms of your dreams of living more in harmony with nature, that's the news I want to report on. And of course, inspiring and uplifting guests as we tend to have all week long, and especially today, working with partners Shimejito and talking to Njiza a little bit later on. So we'll have news, we'll have weather, we will have guests, and I'm going to bring back the Casa do Dia as well. Interesting properties where you can live that homesteading lifestyle and bring into you very fascinating and beautiful properties all over Portugal to allow you to make that shift from from the old way, the old normal. Well, actually, I think the old natural is what we're aiming for. And the normal, I don't know, how well did normal serve us? And for those looking to change their lives practically, profoundly, I'm here for you. That's what we're about. So enough about that. And let's do this news for the last time in this way anyway. Unfortunately, this is of yesterday. And thanks to Jorge Branco for this. Unfortunately, today, this was yesterday, brings the biggest increases in new cases in 20 days as authorities battle multiple localized outbreaks in the Greater Lisboa area. It's also, I beg your pardon, the second day in a row, more new cases have been confirmed than recoveries, even if only by a small margin. The vast majority of new cases, 87%, according to Diário de Notícias, are still coming in the Lisbon and Tejo Valley region, causing the government to ponder special measures for the region, which we'll go into in a little while. But the headline figures, 31,596. That's 304 new confirmed cases as of yesterday. Still under 1% in terms of percentage increase. 1,369 is the total death toll now, 13 new deaths as of yesterday. Still under 1%, and obviously it's still tragic for each and every one of those family situations affected there. And people recovered. The figure for recoveries, 288 new recoveries, bringing the total to 18,637 people who have recovered. And this, I think, is a global trend you're going to see. The government said to be considering differentiated response for Greater Lisbon. Greater Lisbon continues to bear the brunt of the pandemic in Portugal, spread to at least 5 social housing neighborhoods. And I think what this is going to show us and reveal all over the world is how it's going to be managed on a more local level rather than national guidelines. So it really doesn't make sense, does it, for example, for the same measures that are needed to control contagion in Lisbon to be enacted in a rural town where I live, for example. And I'm all for there being general guidelines, but they should be interpreted locally. And I think that maybe what happens now is that in the big cities of the world, there will be different quarantines and lockdowns, and they will be localized rather than generalized across the country. Obviously, it's easier from the state's point of view to enact a general national legislation and tell everybody what to do in one go. And that worked best, didn't it, in terms of flattening the curve. And it's going to get complicated. I'm sure it's going to get more complicated. But there we go. Life is complicated sometimes, isn't it? And we can do our best to support each other as we navigate that. The good news here, of course, look, as George says, it's not expected any measures would affect the newly reopened Pastéis de Belém. So thank goodness we can still get our custard tarts without being affected. Study reveals lockdown's life-saving effects also, says George. There would have been 3 times more people in intensive care without the lockdown, reporting there from Publico that George is referring to, citing a preprint study. So, yeah, there is some validation and science available to show that us responding in the way we did protect the health service, the health workers, which must be a good thing. What we're not seeing yet, this is me talking, not George, is the actual psychological, emotional and health effects in experiencing lockdown. I think that's in the pipeline. TAP, the national carrier here in Portugal, has already promised to review its new flight plans for June and July following a storm of criticism and accusations of devaluing Porto in June. And I'm not sure I understand what that means there, but most were scheduled to leave from Lisbon. Their plan included 27 flights a week and 247 in July. Okay, but most were scheduled to leave from Lisbon. Critics included the mayor of Porto, the leader of the opposition in the national parliament, a host of influential figures in the Algarve, the Business Association of Portugal, and Prime Minister Antonio Costa. The furore came as talks continued about government financial help for the 50% state-owned airline struggling due to the pandemic. So a real can of worms with air travel. And I know that people are concerned that an air corridor will be opened up between the UK and Portugal. The UK, of course, having, I think, the second highest rates, or the second worst place to be in the world, is one way of putting it. And I say that, I own that as a Brit. And the concern, obviously, of just opening up a mutual air corridor and flying loads of eager and upset Brits who are desperate for a holiday into the Algarve. There doesn't seem to be a great deal of sense in that. I do recognise that people need a break and a holiday, but actually just sticking them all on aeroplanes and flying them in great concentrations into a localised area just seems to be a recipe for disaster to me. I don't know what you think. Do let me know in the comments. In brief, find out, as far as beaches go here, find out how many people are allowed on each beach. That's fun, isn't it? And traffic light controls to get on the beach. I think that's bonkers. Employees on simplified layoff will be paid more. That's good news for those people who are struggling, up from 2/3 of their salary, which is the current rate, I believe. Authorities prepare to shut cafes in Bairro de Jamaica, the site of an outbreak. So I would say expect more of that, these localized outbreaks and how things are going to be dealt with. Hola, bon dia. Carl and friends got a very special delivery this weekend. I don't even know who posted that. It wasn't me. And I am Good Morning Portugal. It might be Mrs. Munson. It might be Eloise. So where are you? Who are you? It's very quiet in the chat this morning. So please tell me who you are, where you are, and what your weather is like. Before we go to a quick look at the weather, and then, of course, to Njiza, won't be much longer now. I do want to just share another headline with you from Bloomberg. Portugal says easing of confinement. Just a little message of reassurance for you. Portugal says easing of confinement measures has been positive. This was reported by Bloomberg. Enrique Almeida says Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa said the initial phase of the easing of confinement measures imposed because of the coronavirus outbreak has been positive. While there is some concern about the recent evolution of the outbreak in Lisbon and the Tagus Valley, the situation in the rest of the country has been positive. And I think that applies to most of us tuned in here. Rebelo de Sousa told reporters after attending a presentation on the latest data about the pandemic, where this was revealed. Portugal started easing confinement measures on May the 4th and plans to ease restrictions further this coming Monday, of course, June the 1st. Things are going to change, I think. June the 1st is a big day for this country and countries all over the world, as that people are using it as a psychological focus for changing lockdown and quarantine and all sorts of other measures that we've been doing to deal with the pandemic. And as you can see there, the government reported 304 new coronavirus cases on Thursday, mostly in the Lisboa region. Okay, quick look at the weather. Then it's Fungi Friday, well and truly. And we've got some great vocabulary, thanks to Peter and also to Paulo, Portuguese with Paulo. We've come up with some fantastic vocabulary from over there in Castanheira de Pera, thanks to Peter, who's a regular guest now and even did his own graphics, which I'll share with you in just a moment. Weather then. Look at this. I still think it's going to be cloudy. Looking at my electronic seaweed, excuse me, the cloud's going to come, and that may be a welcome relief to some people. Anyone moaning about the weather yet? Because I know that you Brits like to do that. Too cold and wet for ages. Then the sun comes and it's too hot. Never satisfied, but 29-degree high in Lisboa today, 27-degree high in Porto. Cloud coming in. Rain looking likely. Next week, midweek, there might be some rain to come and cool things down and water the plants. 28-degree high in Aveiro today. Beja, 34, baking 34 degrees in Beja. 32 in Braga, 30 in Bragança. Castelo Branco, 32 degrees, the high today. And yeah, some rain forecast for the middle of next week thus far. Coimbra, 33-degree high today. Évora, 33-degree high. Faro, still cooler than everywhere else. Probably in more ways than one. 26 degrees the high down there today. Guarda, 27 degrees. La Area, 31. High of 32 in Porto Alegre. Santarém, 35. I think that's the highest temperature in the country today. Forecast 35 degrees. Setúbal, 28 degrees. 27 degrees in Viana do Castelo. Villarreal, 31. And 30 in Viseu. So lots of sun. Cloud on the way. Maybe rain next week. The Azores, 19-degree high. Madeira, 18-degree high today, and a little bit of cloud. That's the weather for you. And let us go now, by way of an introduction to Njiza, to Good Morning Portugal's own page on Facebook there. And look at this lovely graphic he's made for us as an introduction to today's Fungi Friday. And Njiza will be here as our obligatory and honorary Portuguese pronunciation guest, and hopefully will teach us a little bit of Portuguese. Tortulhos in Castanheira de Pera are parasol mushrooms and are abundant in the autumn in central Portugal, and each region has a different name for them. That's a lovely study, isn't it? Finding out what the local names are for mushrooms. Other names do include pucarinha, gasalho, and roca. So there you go. Thanks so much to Peter in Castanheira de Pera and to his tutor, his professor, Professor Paulo, from whom we have this new Portuguese with Paulo feature. Okay, there are comments that I've overlooked thus far, but let's bring Njiza here to be with us right now and say good morning. If I can just find the right way to do that. This is the button to do that. Njiza, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Do you know, I've so enjoyed talking to you already this morning. We had a phone call, then we talked a little bit before the show, and I think this is going to be wonderful this morning. Thank you for joining us for Fungi Friday. Could you tell us what you do for Shimejito?
I work, I focus, we work as a team. We are a startup. We do a little bit of everything, but my focus is on the awareness and education. And why awareness and education when we produce mushrooms? Because as you, Adriel and Michelle told, this is much more than an agri-tech business. This is a social impact business. And in some way, I like to say that we need to prepare the social soil to introduce this shift that we want to bring in the world. So as you prepare the soil for planting, and harvesting good stuff, we also have this idea of working on the social soil in order to be more receptive to all the changes that we are being invited to do in this world.
Absolutely wonderful. I love that. And that really is what I think is the focus of our discussion today. And we have some lovely people here in the Good Morning Portugal community who I think will be glad to have you here and will be interested in talking and developing, what we're discussing here. The theme we thought that would be so interesting would be, like, what is it mushrooms can teach us? But more generally, I suppose, what can nature teach us right now? We're in a bit of a crisis, right? The government would like us to get spending again. Obviously, they need to raise tax. They need to manage the worst effects. We are also, as consumers, a little bit addicted, perhaps, to the old way, the old normal, and we're trying to create a new normal. And before that, we could say that things weren't so brilliant anyway. We were facing a mass extinction, climate change. Loads of people were hungry already. We weren't using the world's resources right. It wasn't so great. So now, poised as we are, thinking about a new normal, maybe going back to the old natural, what do you think nature can teach us, Njiza?
Well, she can teach us so many things. She can teach us to not accumulate. She doesn't accumulate as we do. She can teach us the importance of all the four cycles. I like to say that we build our human world. It only likes spring and summer. We don't like autumn and winter. We look at the tree during the winter and we think that she's dead, but there's a lot of activity preparing the next phase.
Yeah.
We can learn with her that we are not separated. We are interconnected and everything has an impact in everything. We can learn how to self-organize ourselves in respect to each individuality and find out that by doing this, we honor the collective. She's a really good teacher. Mushrooms, and particularly, I think Adriel is the best to speak about the mushrooms because
Sure.
he really knows, and he's doing this research work with the University of Lisbon. I know by studying that the mushrooms and the mycelium, it's very similar. The behavior is very similar to neural pathworks.
Yeah.
So it's really the moment we start to, because one of the biggest challenges is that we see ourselves as apart from nature. Nature is just our playground when we take stuff. The moment we start to understand that we are individually are a system just like nature. So let's say nature has fungi and has many species of trees and many species. We have many veins, many cells, many interconnections. And by looking at this like this and looking to everyone that surrounds us like this and looking to the broader system like this is a huge shift in the way we behave. It brings us an awareness that recalls us that we are important and we do a difference in our actions, any tiny action. Sometimes we have this, oh, who am I? I'm not going to do the difference. There's no such thing in nature. Any element, any movement in an element will have an impact in the other elements around us. So I think the main lesson it's about this interconnectedness, and if we try to mimic the ways nature works, we definitely be a better world, a better system. Look at us as cells. So if we learn to work together properly, the body functions well. So, and our body is not functioning well. So we have a lot of divides in this world. So, and this bootcamp that we are preparing, for instance, there are many drivers, but there are 4 essential drivers for this kind of way of doing agriculture. So we have the climate change. We have the fact that we have natural resources that are finite, and we are searching for infinite growth. So there's something that it's not right over there. We are consuming, the last numbers that we are consuming 1.5 planet, and we only have 1.
Yeah.
So, and this has to do with that's why I spoke about slowing down. We don't give enough time for those cycles in nature to regenerate. We waste a lot of stuff. We waste a lot of stuff. We use a lot of resources in a non-circular way, and we waste a lot of stuff. And we are going to have, it's the estimation in 2050, it's that we are going to be near 10 billion human beings in the planet. Mm-hmm. And with all these divides and all these red flags, we really have to shift and do something, because if with the actual population we do all the damage that we are doing, imagine when we become 10 billion.
Yeah. And so this is the boot camp that Shimejito are running, where you can take on board this awareness and do something about it?
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a 6-week journey. We start with looking at all these divides, these bubbles in our world, what is not working. But we change, and I work with methodologies that try to change the problems into questions. And by doing this, you become less disempowered. Because it's frightening to, if I show you a few graphics and talk about, there's a methodology that I use that talks about the 8 divides, the 8 bubbles of our time. It can be pretty scary. Yeah. So we are going to explore that, but in terms of questioning how the hell did we get here? Yeah. Definitely we will going to explore this need to see ourselves as part of a system. We will explore some system thinking. We also will explore what kind of skills we need to develop in terms of navigating this complexity, because by accepting that we are part of a system, we are bringing a lot of complexity into our reality. But there are ways to navigate into this complexity. We are going to explore also, there's a very practical focus in terms of, okay, this is how where we are. This is the need that we need to understand that we are a system, and we need to act in the world with this awareness of system and complexity. And then we go to a step of understanding what's our current playground. And we are going to focus very in Europe. So what's the current playground, and trying to shift paradigms, and particularly in agriculture, what are the players, the main players. But we are going to approach this in terms of the players in the current paradigm and the emergent models that are emerging. Why are we bringing this? Because, okay, we live in this world, the status quo, this is not good, but the new one is not ready yet. And if we try to jump immediately to the new one, something is not going to work. So we need to build a path in the middle, so in order to create the new. Then we have another model that it's really focused on sustainable agriculture. There are 50 hours of self-study. And this one, it's very important part, because it also gives the PDR that Adriel and Michelle also mentioned. This is the regional development program from the interior. And we have one that is going to finish now in 2020. This gives access to funds. Then we have a model of social impact business, where the journey, it's really to map the system, your system. At this stage, when we arrive at the model 3, we aim that the participants have opened up their horizon and see their playground expanded. So in this model, we want to invite them to start to create the idea of the kind of impact that they want to generate while being also an entrepreneur in the world. This is really about bringing concepts of empathy, compassion to business. Then we have a model that is technology for the future, because this is one of the divides that we explore on the first model. One of the divides is that we have technology serving profit. There's nothing wrong about technology, but technology needs to serve life. So It's really picking up and giving the participants basic introduction to programming and the trends, the best discoveries that we have in this area in terms of Internet of Things and blockchain, and how because these are key to build this collaborative society. So this is what it is, a society 4.0. It's not, the power is not in the hands of the few. The power, it's an emergent phenomenon from the collective. It's building a awareness-based society. So, and the aim of this model, technology for the future, it's to invite the participants to collectively build a platform where this collective intelligence is working and it serves their business. Then we have another module that is get ready for the real business, for real life. And on that, we are going to focus on legal, because this new that we are wanting to build and bring forward, we have to pay attention to not be illegal, let's say, or completely out of the system. I like to play that we have to do a management with the open legs, with a leg in the old system and a leg in the new system. True. So we have the teachers are experienced lawyers that work in these fields of how to use this kind of internet, or how to use all these, what does exist in the law that allow us to build this awareness-based society. We will have also teachings on pitching, funding, value chain. So it's really a journey to become, I like the expression, evolutionary entrepreneur.
I love that as well. Evolutionary entrepreneur. So I need to get this straight with you. There is a boot camp and a course, or the boot camp is the course?
The boot camp is the course.
Okay. And it's this one that's on your website. That's the online 4.0 agriculture education. Is that the boot camp?
Yeah, there's another. We are preparing to launch another landing page. So today I'm going to work with Michelle. I'm just finishing with the contents with the teachers.
Okay. And people should go to find out more, shimejito.com. And
write us. We can send. We have some materials already with the structure of the training.
Brilliant. I mean, I love this because, you know, for people who need some sort of framework, it's there. You're providing the framework. And it's also a journey, isn't it? It's a journey of how we might bring some of the changes we want to see in the world, actually how to tactically, practically bring those into being, presumably with the support of other people. And a very, so you're learning about yourself, you're learning about how you can put these things into the world that we would like to do with quite a formal structure. What's the cost of doing the course?
The course is 500 euros.
Right. Okay. And I'm thinking we should start a Good Morning Portugal bursary or something, or a crowd fund where we could put one of our community through the course, because I'm sure there's somebody in our community who would love to do that course. Certainly, I think it's worth finding out more about it and having that structure and those ethics, because I like the combination of the Shimejito ethics. You know, how you guys see the world is fantastic. How you see what we need to do for the world, I think is fantastic. And we kind of need to bring that about. We need to come together and do that. So thank you, you know, to all of you there for developing this. This sounds like a serious, intense course in many ways, but it's addressing the issues of our time in a very positive and practical way, right?
Yeah, it's really about honoring all the aspects that we are. We are economic, we are professional, we are personal, we are part of you human. And in some idea, our society fragmented us into pieces. So it's really how you as a economic agent, how you acting in the world with your business can help bring a new paradigm. And this relates in the way you take decisions, in the way you relate with people, in the way you look at your system and only don't identify the parts that interest you, but see all the interconnections between people, between sectors. It's really this mimicking the nature, the beginning of our talk. So It's bringing this awareness of there's no contradiction in doing money and taking care of life, being human. And so there's a lot of paradigms that we want to really challenge, because we believe this is the way we can bring forth that better world, that better version at least, because
Love
this
it.
one is not the best one.
It's not working for enough people, is it? And we know
No.
this. We know this. So I will come to a final question, or it's a point to consider. But let's just say hello to a few people this morning. It was Eloise who says she's got a very special delivery this weekend. I got to find out what that is. Come on, Eloise. Is it a crate of wine or so? I don't know. Or like some new livestock for your place? I don't know. Sunny Sintra and Druba saying good morning to everybody.
Sintra.
Now, Filomena Pascual is going to be teaching us some Portuguese soon. So, bon dia to you, Filomena, and thank you for your offer. More details to follow on teaching us expats and estrangeiros some decent Portuguese. Don't know why that happened. Good morning from a sunny Castanheira da Pera. Peter, I will go through your mushroom foraging on a separate show. It deserves its own show, I think. He went for a drive yesterday. 34 degrees in Anciao. Hot, hot, hot. Good morning from sunny Maya. Happy Friday from Chantel. Chanterelle, there's a nice little connection there. That's better. I'm not sure what Eloise is referring to, but we do want to know what you're teasing us with, Eloise, about what you've come in this weekend. On June the 1st, it's a big day for everybody all over the world, I think, in terms of the pandemic. Hoping this is important. Local news over there in Castanheira da Pera, the Village Social Club, the Grêmio Parense, is reopening. That'll be big news for those guys over there. In response to yesterday's comments about sponsorship and free speech, I agree. We must debate it as a fundamental requirement for a healthy civilization. That's what we're all about here, Gary. To listen costs nothing. Absolutely, mate. Although we may not agree, to learn is priceless. Wisdom there from Gary. Absolutely. And over there in Alvayazara, I'm all for having people on this live stream. We don't have to agree, but we can respectfully listen to each other and have an enriching environment. It's really important. Bon dia, the ensolarado Tessaira. Hello to what does that mean there, Njiza?
Terceira, it's an island in the Açores.
Oh, okay, of course it is. Lisa's over there in Azores. Yes. Good morning to you, Lisa. We're due here's another weather report from Peter. Storm rain on Sunday and Monday, be a nice relief from the heat and lower the fire risk. Of course, we could go there, couldn't we, into monoculture? You don't need to look any further than the effects of monoculture in Portugal to realize how out of sync we are with nature in some ways. Michelle, good morning to you from the Shimejito posse. Hi to you. Thanks for joining us. Bon dia from Claire and Steve in Lolé. Morning, beautiful people. I always like to get that greeting from Owen in the mornings. Good morning to you, my friend. Tell us about the Casa do Dia you're looking for, and we'll go on the search for you as we reinstate that feature on Monday. Druba again, sunny Sintra. And yes, I do want some mushroom pictures from you, Peter, but we'll do that as a special episode for sure. Is this all delivered online, Njiza? Is the comment from about the boot camp?
Great question. The course is online. The online sessions are let's say the kickoff of the models, because mostly is self-study. So we will have on a Sunday evening the kickoff, where you meet the teachers, the facilitators, we present the program. And then during the week, it's self-study. We will have some moments of mentoring. We will have some guests to show you. We want to show you that reality already exists. So you will have the opportunity to chat with the guests. But it's not most of the time. It's I would say 60% of the time it's self-study.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for answering that. And the answer to my question, what's happening this weekend? After 3 months of UK lockdown, Mr. Healy is flying back to Portugal. That is a special delivery, and I hope you have a super weekend, you two. That sounds so lovely, that reunification. As part of the whole sort of lifting of lockdown, that's a really lovely sort of personal angle on that. And of course, yes, look in Azores. Good morning from sunny. Do I say Terceira?
Terceira.
Terceira. Okay, thank you so much for that. So final kind of discussion, comment, your observation on this, but just the very way we've dealt with the pandemic is an indication of where we're at, isn't it? It's like this thing is coming in. You said, you know, in nature, everything is in nature, isn't it? The infections, the infestations, the viruses. For the human being of 2020, the coronavirus came, and we didn't think about how to work with it in a natural way, did we? It was like, kill it! This is a war! Get rid of it! Kill it! You know, put it in a box, set the box on fire, sink it under the bottom of the sea, you know, nuke it. We didn't respond to it in a natural way, did we? Or in any with any kind of natural principle, or even consider working with it. So that's part of the question, Njiza. But in terms of us, you know, this is what I think people are about here in Good Morning Portugal. They want to get back to nature. They want to be more in tune with nature. But how do we break our old habits? How do we engage with the nature that's inside us? Because I think that's really quite hard. And I know you run courses to help people be more sort of authentic and vulnerable, right? What can people do in an everyday way, in a practical way, to face the blockages that come? You know, on the face of it, it's lovely. Yeah, we want to be in nature. We think of the sunshine and we think of the flowers. And nature's also kind of harsh, and you know, there is a sort of brutality. It's everything. How, as human beings, do we open up to all of it? What's the way to start that process?
So first, the way we reacted with control. We are addicted with that.
Yes.
Yes, I was mentioning one of my work. It's really about how do we learn to walk between chaos and order, because chaos is when creativity, the new. If you look to any creative process of any new birth in nature, it has some elements of chaos. And nature has order also, but nature does not have control. And we operate in the interface between order and control. We really don't like chaos. So, and another pattern that we have, we are always looking for an external enemy. So, yeah. This gets us to the answer how to learn. So, to work with nature and the work that I do. Most of my teachings, they blend ancient knowledge and Buddhist knowledge with 21st leadership. And at the core, it's and I like this sentence of the warrior of the heart, of Shambhala warrior. It's that the warrior of the heart knows that the enemies in the world, the bad thing that happens in the world, it's manayama, it's man-made, it's made from our mind. So this is really a journey into looking inside of us and see ourselves, our dreams, our fears, what we like, what we don't like. And this journey is very challenging because it takes us to a non-controlled territory. It's about noticing what it's around and giving the best response. For instance, we speak about responsibility. When we speak about responsibility in our world, we speak about who to blame, probably. If something goes wrong, it's who to blame.
Yes.
In this mindset, responsibility, it's to act in your own unique ability to give the response to that situation. So, and this is a huge shift in terms of when you take to yourself the way you react with the situation that you have, and you don't go to try to suppress that situation, to control that situation. You know about yourself and you know how to dance with the situation. So you and the situation are the same. I don't know if it is becoming clear. So the work that I do, it's really about tuning into this element of authenticity. Yeah. So who am I? Who is my authentic self in terms of, do I believe in a world that it's good enough for 1% of the population have 80% of the richness of our world? Do I believe in a world that it's okay for instance, once I was driving, coming from a training, and I was listening in the radio the journalist celebrating that a big billionaire for seconds was the biggest billionaire, billions and billions. And I was just coming from a training with young doctors, and I had made this representation of the healthcare system. And one of the cases that emerged was a young doctor that always dreamed to be a doctor, and her specialty was new birth. And she had just came from a operation where a new birth came, but it was very little. It was premature. But she was happy because she made it. She made it for him to born alive. And the chief came. She was there, and the chief came and told her she's less than 500 kilograms, so she doesn't have the right to an incubator. So don't hold too much on your hopes. And on the same day, I listened to this news that we were celebrating that one guy has 6,000 billions.
Yes.
And we don't have, and this is a city, this is Madrid.
Yeah.
The civilized world.
Absolutely.
That doesn't have money for a new kid to have an incubator. So yeah. So it's really about you confronting and see the reality. The block to learning is that we don't want to see the reality as it is. It's painful.
Yeah.
But the journey doesn't need to be painful because you get empowered by that energy. So another methodology is the dragon dreaming. This dragon, it's also a source of energy to change the world. And it's not a source of violent energy. It's a source of compassionate energy to act in the world. I don't know if I answer your question because your question is
It's beautiful because it's a big subject, but I really get a sense of what you're saying there. And that's to me is so much of our work at the moment is that we know on the one hand that we want things to be different and it's not working for enough people the way we've got the world. And then when you begin to do something about that, like you say, it becomes a bit painful and difficult. And then we give up in a way, I suppose, or are not so interested in the process. But I think that's where we're at the moment, right? It's like it's the balance between the pain of not doing anything and the pain of doing something useful. And, I've got a lot of hope and positivity about the sort of people who are interested in, being here this morning and listening to you and living a different way of life. What Good Morning Portugal to me is all about, and the Happy Homesteaders is that, we
are millions. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. We are millions. We are millions already.
That's right. And people are interested. And I would just say to people who just feel like it's hopeless or they're blocked or whatever is that, yeah, it does feel like that sometimes. But, we go back to nature again, don't we? From the, how tiny little seedlings, vulnerable, tiny little seedlings become the massive tree I'm looking at outside my window. In 15 years, there's a house that's bigger than the tree now, a tree that's bigger than the house now. And this guy outside here who I, is just immense and magnificent, used to be some tiny little thing like this. And that's where we're at possibly as humanity, is that we can grow from that vulnerability into something really impressive and strong and be the great human beings we know we are.
And I just want to add it. You are faced with this reality, but you don't have to carry the burden of change by yourself alone.
Yes.
And there's this question that I like to do. What is yours to give to the world?
Yeah.
Because there's a unique gift that each one of us has. There's a unique call in all these you don't have. And to act in all the fronts and all the challenges. It's really find those parts that make your heart sing, make your heart dream. And it's there. This is another different. We live in a world that says, I want you to be useful there. So it's this usefulness. Now, this is about finding what lights up your heart, what sparks your creativity, what is yours. And you focus on that, and you are not alone.
Yes. What a lovely message to end the session on here this morning, our Fungi Friday. We will be with more of the team, I think, next Friday. Finally, then, good morning quickly from Devon in the UK. Hi, Hazel. Lovely to have you here with us. Hi to you and John. Where can we access your other courses, material you mentioned, Njiza? So this is a bit beyond Shimejito, I think. your
Yeah,
facility?
you go to Shimejito site.
Yeah.
We have a brief overview, but we are hoping today to put it in the air, the landing page for the whole training.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. But
And you can write us also, but I can send you.
yeah, cool. And shimejito.com for that. And for you, your facilitation courses, because I think Eloise is referring to the wonderful work you do as a facilitator. How do we find out more about that?
Njiza.net.
Okay.
My name.net.
Cool. I will make sure people have the right connection for that in the Facebook group and page. Njiza, thank you so much for being with us this morning for
Thank you
Fungi
so
Friday.
much.
Really enjoyed talking to you. I hope everybody else has too. And we'll be back on Monday. So I'll say goodbye to you now, and lots of love to you in Fundao.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Bye for now. Bye for now. How wonderful. Just very briefly now, just to say goodbye to you. As I said, the changes in the format for the show, we will be doing less directly related sort of COVID news and the numbers. We will just talk about Portuguese big news, that affects us trying to live off grid, whether that means physically or mentally, and live more in tune with nature. That kind of news. The weather, of course, I think people love the weather. Great guest like we just had with Njiza. And Casa do Dia will return on Monday, but specifically houses and properties and land that helps us in this, with all the things, ideas we're interested in with Good Morning Portugal. If you're looking for somewhere, let me know. I'll help you find it. If you're selling somewhere, if you've got an interesting project you want to share, let me know about that as well. And just finally, as I wish you bon fin de semana, an appeal to support the show, the live stream as well. And you can support us with seeds. Go to coffee.com, ko-fi.com/Carl Munson. If you want to help out this enterprise, that's what we're doing. We are crowdfunded. We're peer-to-peer. I have lost my main source of income, my day job, if you like, just recently. I'm working on that, and I would love this to bring me more of a livelihood and an income. So if you feel that's a good destination for your hard-earned shekels, do consider bunging us some seeds, coffee.com/Carl Munson, or let's talk about sponsorship or whatever ideas you think might help with the livelihood and continuation and sustainability of the Good Morning Portugal project. It will continue in some form. Take care, everybody, and bye for now. Bon fin de semana, and we'll see you on Monday. Take care.